Hello everybody, welcome to the Miscast Podcast. I'm your host Doodles and I'm joined today on this monumental debut episode of the Miscast Podcast by my good buddy. In fact, I would say he's more than a buddy, I would say he's my brother, my Russian brother from another mother, the one, the only Daniel Leonov.
What's up?
How's it going, man? How's it going?
Doing great.
Awesome. Now, a lot of people say that fate is bullshit, but fate's one thing that I actually believe in. I'd say that this podcast is probably fate. That it was meant to happen, because I'd say probably over the last week or two I've been contemplating the fact of doing another podcast. I had the very short-lived Back to Square One podcast with my Back to Square One bandmate Linus Linnaeus, and I've been missing it, and I've been wanting to do another podcast for quite a while, and I've been toying with the idea. I've been thinking up the name, I've been thinking of what I want to do, and then literally around the same time you messaged and said, do you want to do a podcast together? And
yeah, exactly.
It's pretty weird that we both had that thought at the same time.
Oh yeah, and actually one other thing that happened just this weekend to me, I just started to do some YouTube collaborations, and I was thinking about a couple of guys I maybe should do a collab with.
Yeah.
And then just out of the blue, one of them writes me right away and just basically said the same thing. Like, I was contemplating to do a collab with you, and yeah, that was like... I think the same experience. So.
Yeah, it's pretty strange that we literally were both sort of contemplating the same idea, but I think that's sort of the same with my band as well. I sort of think that it was kind of fate with that as well, because the way that we sort of like came together, both in the sort of same situation, and sort of we both wanted the same thing out of the band, and I think it's sort of like weird that like these sort of things have came together.
Yeah, and it actually works quite well together. So
yeah, exactly. Like sort of like in the terms of the band, we've always wanted to release music but never been able to find a physical band where you go to practice every week and play together. Never been able to get a band together long enough to get to that point. And then we sort of like came together online, despite the fact that we live like 30 minutes away from each other. So I'd sort of say that's like quite fate that like we came together to do that. And it's sort of the same with this. That I sort of think that this was like a fate thing. Like, I want to do a podcast, you want to do a podcast, so why not just do a podcast together?
Yeah, let's do it.
It just makes so much sense. And we both got different ideas in what we wanted to do with the podcasts. Like, you wanted to go down the more informative route, which is something that is a brilliant idea, but not something that I would have actually contemplated doing. Like, I might have dabbled in the subjects, but I think I wouldn't have went the full, more informative / educational type of route, which is what we've got a lot of stuff planned.
Yeah, but not super like educational.
Yeah, not like going to like school or anything like that. But like I would have, I was more interested in maybe doing like the interviews, try maybe like some current events. Like, obviously with all the stuff that goes down in YouTube, we've got subjects for days for podcasts, especially already in 2018. We could probably talk about the stuff that's happened so far in 2018 to the end of the year. We could probably just make podcasts a week for everything that goes down.
We can just do YouTube controversy of the month. And
exactly.
That will be.
That was pretty much like my initial idea. I want to talk about was like current events in music. Like, obviously last year we had a lot of big stuff that would have been great topics, even though a lot of them were shit topics to talk about. Obviously, like the death of Chester Bennington and stuff like that. Like, they would have been stuff that we would have made a podcast on. We would have discussed obviously the band and what sort of they meant to us. So I sort of want to go on that route for anything that may happen in the world of music. Like, obviously if a band gets back together, if a band breaks up and a new album comes out, we can talk about that. That was sort of the route that I was wanting to go down, and I sort of think that like combining the two is going to be quite good, because we've figured out that we're able to combine a lot of what we both want to do in the same sort of episodes.
Yeah, actually some interviews can be based on some specific topic.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, I've got like an idea. I want to interview, I don't know if he's going to say yes. I don't want to sort of like leak the name and say anything in case obviously they say no, but like I want to interview an artist rep that I know about, like, who obviously deals with endorsements and stuff like that. So I thought that would be a good person to interview, but then obviously we can turn it into a more informative thing about like what an artist rep.
That can be very useful.
Yeah, exactly. The sort of thing that a lot of musicians are going to be after, because obviously most musicians seek endorsements. It's kind of just part and parcel of becoming a musician and sort of getting out there and sort of moving up the ladder. So it would be a good thing to sort of discuss what an artist rep does, what they expect from you, what an artist would expect from them, how the relationship works, stuff like that. So it's sort of being able to combine both our ideas into one show rather than having two separate podcasts. Like, it makes a lot of sense to just do it this way.
Yeah, let's see where it goes.
So that's kind of like the fate thing. Like, it was like we've been able to combine both ideas to probably make an overall better podcast than what we may have done separately. So I think it's going to go well. I'm very excited for it. And we haven't sort of talked about it for a month and never got around to recording an episode. We've said we're going to make a podcast, and here we are. We're recording the first episode.
Oh yeah.
So that's good. That's always when I think things are going to go right. If you don't sort of like procrastinate, is that the right word?
Yeah, procrastinate.
If you don't kind of like just like sit on the idea for too long and say, "Oh, I'm going to do a podcast," but you never get around to doing it.
Procrastination. Yeah, that's
like rather than us just sort of like blowing smoke at our saying we're going to make a mint podcast, and we've actually done it. That's when things generally go right because you've got the passion there. Obviously, we both want to do it. So
we're totally winging it right now.
So I'm quite hopeful, but I think the first episode was going to be a winging episode regardless. Because obviously, if we started with a specific subject, then it was sort of people would be like, "Who the hell are these two people talking about whatever we're talking about?" So I think it's probably a good thing just to sort of like shoot the breeze, break the ice, and sort of let people know the podcast is here before we sort of dive into the actual subjects. So I think on that note, we should probably tell people who the hell we actually are. Because some people may know us, most people may stumble across this podcast, whether they do, probably have no idea who the hell Doodles and Daniel actually are. So I think we should probably give ourselves a little introduction. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can try to go first.
Yeah, no problem.
Do we have any specific? Of course, we don't have any specific like form or anything like that.
No. They're just kind of like who you are, what you do. Just sort of let people know who Daniel Leonov is.
Well, there is like in musical terms. I play guitar. I play some other instruments as well. I have a really like small channel on YouTube, which is like, is it 8 years old already or 7 years old? I was doing that
2011, I think.
My first video on that channel was like 2011, but my actual first video ever was on my previous account. It was 2008 or 2009.
Damn, that's
but
crazy.
Then just the whole acquisition of YouTube by Google happened, and there was some things messed up, so I had to create a new one. Anyway, so in some case I'm an OG YouTube cover artist.
You don't think about it being a bit like that, but yeah, a lot of PewDiePie started in 2010. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, but
shame we haven't got the 60 mil, but
yeah, I'm nowhere near 60 mil. But anyway, yeah, I've done YouTube covers of me playing guitar for a while. Actually, I have some offline musician history as well. So for some people, it's just like they do a 9-to-5 thing, or they go to school and then they just all their musical endeavors is YouTube. I'm kind of all over the place, so maybe that's the reason I'm not getting a lot of subscribers, views, and all that. Like 8 years, a lot.
I think it's a long time. This is a long time.
Yeah, I think I've done like over 100 videos already. But anyway, yeah, that's like, I always thought of that like a hobby. So I may take the musicians thing seriously, but YouTube was always like my own little, man cave on the internet when I can do all on my own, because obviously when you have a band or something like that, any collective type of
it's more collaboration.
It's less of collaboration, but there is a lot of compromise you have to do, and at the end of the day you have to have somewhere where someplace which is kind of belongs to you 100%.
Exactly, because obviously if you say I want to record a 9 Inch Nails cover on YouTube, that's your prerogative, you can do that, you've got no one to answer to. Whereas obviously if you're in a band and you say I want to play 9 Inch Nails, they can say, well, we can't really play that because we're a pop punk band, obviously that's not going to work, sort of thing. So you've got more freedom, I think, on YouTube.
That's like first 5 years of me playing guitar in bands, exactly. So I want to do one thing, and everyone else wants to just play Sum 41 and bands like that.
And that's usually how the band falls apart, pretty much, because it's artistic differences. But
actually, to be honest with you, when I started to play guitar when I was 16, I actually didn't like punk rock or pop punk. I just thought that was like I was more like progressive rock, progressive metal kid, and I was listening also a lot of alternative music, and I was always looking down on pop punk guys.
Yeah. So it was weird that I was kind of like the opposite in a way. I don't know, like when I started listening to music, it was like the new metal era, early 2000s. So there's a lot of like Slipknot, Limp Bizkit, all that sort of bands out there. Then also you got the pop punk, like your Blinks, your not Linkin Park, Sum 41, all that sort of stuff. It was sort of like I always wanted to be a metal guy. I always wanted to learn like to be a metal guitarist and do all that stuff. But I sort of like I don't have the dedication. I don't know if it's not I haven't got the dedication. I don't seem to click with that genre as much when I'm trying to play it. So I sort of ended up just gravitating back towards pop punk more. Like I sort of like I feel more at home. Like I feel more at home playing pop punk, even though I want to play the big, heavy, like the Bullet for Valentine, the Lamb of God type of riffs. But I sort of just don't.
Yeah, and it's all it's kind of started when you're just starting out. You're just thinking like, punk musicians don't know how to play their instruments. That's why they play punk rock. But then I don't remember who that was exactly, but I saw some of the one of the Russian pop punk musicians. Did I mention I'm from Russia? Yeah, I'm from Russia.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the start.
And Russian pop rock and Russian punk rock is like just a few ties below in my mind. So it was always like it's just shit music.
Yeah.
Anyway,
to be fair, most like it's sort of an easy genre to play. Like you can get the basics of pop punk or punk rock quite quickly. So I think it's one of those genres where you can get a lot of lower quality bands.
Yeah, it's like lower what is like entry level.
Yeah, because it's sort of like you can learn the A, D, and E power chord, and you can write blitzkrieg bop, but most people can't write a song as good as that sort of thing. Like Billy Joe Armstrong, he can write a song with 3 chords and it sounds amazing, but it doesn't say that it's not every 3 chord song's going to sound great too. So
and that's what I'm trying to say. And just one day I saw some of the musicians from one of those Russian punk rock.
Yeah,
I think it was the bass player of, I don't know what the band was exactly, but that guy was good, and I was just amazed. Like, dude, you're like, you can play progressive metal. What the hell are you doing in this shit rock band? And then like the whole world just became a little more clear to me.
I think bassists are one of the more underrated members of a pop punk band. If you look, fair enough, not all of them, but if you look at like a lot of pop punk bands, the bass player is usually like the sort of the star, like not like the star necessarily as being like the guy at the front of the stage, but like he's always like the one that really sort of like pushes the boundaries a bit more technical as opposed to just playing root notes all the time. You get people like Korn from Sum 41, which gravitates more towards the root notes, but you get like Mike Dirnt, and if you start looking at like some of the more lesser known bands, like used to a names, no effects sort of bands, like the bass players are generally quite technical in what they do.
Yeah, and that's I think that was like oh damn that what was it like in the 70s, for example? All the bands from 70s, the bass players are just amazing. And then I just realized that a lot of really a lot of national level bands or international level bands that play like really simple primitive music, those musicians are like super over skilled. And right now I'm kind of having a internship at the studio, and I see a lot of musicians coming in and recording their stuff, and even if they play like 4 notes the whole song, you can instantly see the difference between a rookie player and a super professional guy.
You said you can play 1,000 notes really bad, or you can play 1 note amazingly, and I'd rather listen to 1 note. Like I'd rather listen to someone like David Gilmour play 1 note for 10 minutes as a solo, because he'd probably make it be the best 1 note solo you could ever hear. Or you can get some like random bedroom shredder who plays very sloppy but can sweep pick really fast but can't play cleanly at all. Like, who's the better player? You know what I mean? Like,
and those guys can play like 1,000 notes and it would be super clean. And I mean those musicians from famous bands. So it was always I don't know how to call it, but it was really weird experience realizing that even to play in a national level punk rock band, you have to be that good.
Yeah, like I didn't even realise at first. Like it was always quite an easy genre to play, but I think you sort of realise as well that I was playing a lot of the stuff wrong. Like I was playing like easy versions of it. That when you sort of dive into it more, you sort of realise how technical it can be, especially when you record and stuff. Because obviously when we record, we generally record everything. In a band, so it's like, say if I'm doing a Green Day cover, I've got to try and learn Mike's parts as well, and you sort of realise how technical those songs can be.
Yeah, exactly, and that was one of my ideas for my YouTube covers initially, is that a lot of people just do simple versions of them, and they probably just learn the song in 15 minutes and just lay down basic harmonies, and they call it a day, and I was always really meticulous about the parts, even if there are some really very audible parts that no one ever plays live, just a studio ear candy thing. I always try to dig that out and play that, and I don't know, it's really weird because it's super dorky, but it's kind of fun for me.
Yeah, when I'm recording it, especially the bass, if it's one of those type of songs, it's a very, very slow progress. Like I can sort of like, I've got the tab up on screen, I'm going like do, pause, learn the next bar, hit record. I like doing it one at a time, trying to like, because I'm not going to be able to nail the whole song and remember it because I'm not a bass player. But like, yeah, I'm sort of the same where I do try and, if I can, I do try and like record it as it is meant to be. Even if it, like, sometimes I just sort of go, no, I'm not going to do it, I just play like a cheap version of it. But yeah, I'm kind of the same. I do try and play it like meticulously.
Yeah, and that thing, that's probably one of the things that drove me to YouTube, because that was driving me crazy when I was playing with bands, because other musicians were just half-assing it, especially drummers, because even if the song is really simple but it has some like kind of cool groovy drum part, they just play the same thing, and they and if you're beginner musicians, you don't even notice it. So a drummer can not learn 10 songs and just play one thing and no one really will notice.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly.
It always drove me crazy because
because a lot of things like with the drums, it could be you could say put the snare hit could be like a quarter of a beat back from on the bar sort of thing. Like it could be those little things that like when you hear the riff and you've got that groove go, especially something like a more groovy band like a Pantera sort of thing. Like you could have that like that basic beat, but you've got that snare hit just a tad too early, and like it's those things that make the groove and make the song as memorable as it is. And obviously
that's the difference between men and boys.
And if you half-ass it, it's like you can play an 8-beat all day long and it sounds decent, but like it's putting that little snare like just a hair before it's meant to be played, and that's what sets it apart, and that's what makes the riff, like makes the whole song come together. And I think it's a lot easier to half-ass things, especially with drums and bass. Like I think with guitar you can write a good song fairly basically. Like obviously you can play a few power chords, it sounds good, but I think with like drums, the drums and bass are the instruments that like they seem quite basic on the surface, but then like a good drummer and a good bass player can make a band, and they can also break a band if you're not a good bassist or drummer.
Oh yeah, and they could be the whole band, like Royal Blood or Death from Above. Exactly. It's just two people, and that's all you need.
Exactly. Like my previous band, pre-YouTube, the band that I was in just before, around the sort of time that I very first got into YouTube doing the whole gaming thing, like the bass player and drummer them, like we were good friends, like we all played really well together, but they, for some strange reason, they sort of never met each other before prior, but they sort of like clicked and they locked in together. And like once, when they locked in together with the groove, like whatever we played sounded good. Like because they just click together, and I think it's one of those aspects of a band that a lot of people don't understand and sort of don't realise the importance of it.
I can't really say I experienced that before, because
that's the only time I've experienced it.
Yes, maybe I wasn't that lucky.
Yeah, that's the only time I've experienced it. It's one of those things where it was like I could play a basic power chord riff and this still sounds like magic, just because they're just like their notes are exactly in time. They're like they've clicked. They're playing the right thing at the right time with each other, and it just works so well. I think they're definitely underrated.
Yeah, just remember that I was playing with my band. I should probably mention that I always play in a band. But I'm always playing in some kind of band all the time.
You play bass now, don't you?
The name changes, the band changes, but
it's Dayline sort of thing.
Yeah, right now it's Dayline. I hope it will be for quite some time. Anyway, we were playing with a band that was just three of us. I was playing bass, then there was a drummer, and then there was a singer, and everything else was my laptop. So all the guitar parts, keyboard parts, and all the stuff. And obviously, in order to play like this, you have to be really synced to a metronome because, you can't groove like that. And
if you play along a sort of backing, you can't be out of time at all. Obviously, if you slip up slightly, that's it. Like the whole song.
Oh
fall
yeah,
apart.
yeah. And we were practicing like that for some time, and then I, at the end of rehearsal, I just threw a random idea. Let's just shut down the laptop and play. By ourselves, because but by that point we had like I don't know, probably a dozen rehearsals when we did those songs, and we played just by ourselves, and surprisingly we sounded like a lot better. And like everyone in the band knows how to play to a metronome. Like we aren't super beginners, but there's some kind of groove that happens like that.
Yeah. I think a lot of it's natural as well. Like, I think obviously you can play it with a backing track, but it's something about the natural playing together when you've got the connection going that obviously like a backing track can't emulate.
Yeah, but that's I'd say like it's super genre specific, because if you're playing like super technical metal, it's usually like super time aligned and quantized all over the place, and it's not bad, I think, for that, because if you hear a non-quantized version of Fear Factor, for example, I think it won't be as good as the production version. And in the studio I'm involved with currently, it's not as like a metal-based studio. In fact, metal bands are quite rare to visit it. There is a lot of like blues bands, pop bands, pop rock bands, and I think that's probably a topic for another podcast, but since we started talking about that, I think like probably half of the sessions we do is that the first track we record is that we have a drummer and a bass player in the live room, and they record at the same time, because even if they do not play tight to a metronome, a lot of like mature musicians, especially if they are live type musicians opposed to studio type musicians, they have some own groove, and it's a good idea to capture that instead of forcing people to play to metronome.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you are maybe like just a hair out of time with the beat at a certain point, like if you lock in the groove, that's a lot more like magical than just sort of playing 100% quantized to the beat. It's definitely an important thing. And it's definitely a thing that I lost a lot, I think, now. I think it's lost in a lot of music now. A lot of people, probably us included, everything has to be in time, but I think it's because the way that sort of music is consumed now and how we put out music, as we put music out on YouTube, like a public platform, like if we don't nail it, like you're open to criticism straight away, and I think it makes you a lot more trying to make it sound perfect, even though you can lose some of the magic at times.
And that's there is also that thing about mainstream music, because a lot of mainstream music is now done like super quantized, super loud, super auto-tuned, and everyone assumes that every kind of genre, every kind of music, every kind of recording has to be done exactly like that in order to meet that standard, which is... Exactly. Which may not be true. Let's discuss it maybe in the different podcast, because that's like a super tangent right now.
One thing actually popped in my head was like sort of how like Led Zeppelin, for example, like a band like that, like their connection, their sort of like groove together is what basically made that band. Like I think if they were like super quantized and they were all recording the parts separately and it all had to be 100% in time, I think some of those like magical moments in the tracks would have been lost.
But they still would be pretty good, because they are some musicians.
Yeah, they got the magic. Definitely a subject for another day. That one. It's probably on our list, or if it's not on our list of episode ideas, we'll definitely add that one.
Back to introductions. So to sum it up,
should I keep hitting my microphone? It's going to sound annoying.
So, guitar player, a bass player, a little bit of keyboards and drums. also a active kind of offline musician who plays in a band, and also a musician who does a YouTube cover thing. And I also started recently some kind of educational series, and I also kind of work in a studio in recording, so that's kind of all over the place, but all about the music. So
you got your fingers in a lot of different pots.
So yeah, that's like a 30-second introduction of myself after like 30-minute rant.
I know. Yeah, I was thinking we've been going 30 minutes and we're not even halfway through the introductions yet. But it is what it is. It's the first episode. Obviously, we're breaking the ice. We're sort of getting people into the groove of what the podcast is going to be like. So I think we're all good. I think it's all fine. But that was a very long-winded introduction of yourself. But we talked about a lot of good things, and we actually gave ourselves some new podcast ideas, so it's definitely worthwhile.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea to write it down.
Definitely. I've got the notepad open, so obviously if we get any ideas, we can just jot them down quickly.
Yeah, great.
But I suppose we move on to me. I suppose I'm kind of like in the similar sort of thing. Like I'd say, sort of jack of all trades, currently master of none.
Yeah, that's exactly like me.
See, my name's Doodles. Well, it's Dave, but Doodles Dave isn't the most rock star name in the world, so went with Doodles. I like the name. Some people may think it sounds silly, but Slash probably sounded like a stupid name at the time too. So you never know. Although I think I just compared myself to Slash there, which probably wasn't the right thing to do. But there you go. But yeah, I'm a YouTuber, a musician. Been on YouTube since 2014. 2015 with music. I started out with gaming before. And one massive regret I've got about that is that I didn't start sooner. I don't know why I left it till 2014 or 2015 and started doing YouTube. Like, I missed the golden years of YouTube. Like, I should have been on there. Like, when you got all the big guys like rising up, like starting out, like there was no reason why like couldn't have been doing it at the same time. That's like
those one exactly like golden days. I think now are the golden days of YouTube, really. The musician part of it. I might talk about maybe in different podcasts on the end of this one about musician part of YouTube, or 2008 2009. But yeah, that was quite different.
Yeah, it's definitely an idea. Yes, definitely jot that one down.
But, now back to you.
But yeah, I completely sort of regret not starting up, because I always feel that I'm very late to the boat, late to the party when it comes to things. Like I was aware YouTube was a thing, but I wasn't aware of like YouTubers were a thing until like around the same time that I got into YouTube, which was a bit annoying. But yeah, now I do the whole YouTube thing. Been going since 2015 on my music channel. It's coming in towards its 3rd year anniversary in April. Currently got 2,300 subscribers, so still a small channel, not a big channel by any means. But I'd say it's opened up a lot of different doors, which I probably wouldn't have pursued had I not done YouTube. Before that,
that's the door opening part of YouTube is like amazing. So
yeah, I think not even stuff related to YouTube itself, like sort of like getting in with like things related to YouTube. But I think it's sort of like starts pushing that different direction where you start to explore yourself as a musician more, and you sort of start to get into those different things. Because yeah, like as well as YouTube, I was in a band before that, as I said previously. But we broke up around the time that I started doing gaming on YouTube. We sort of broke up over that time period. And then I gave up playing music after the band, because I think a lot of time when you break up in a band, you kind of like lose your motivation to play music for a bit. So I sort of gave up for a little while. And then I sort of realised that I was spending like 40 hours a week gaming and making gaming videos on YouTube. And I was like, why don't I just play music? Do you know what I mean? Like that would be so much more productive with my time if I just start making like music videos on YouTube. And that's kind of where it all started. That's kind of where the idea came from. And I sort of around that time I got into watching Fluff, and I was watching E-Rocks. I was watching like a lot of FAQ Mondays and then Meets Metal stuff, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's what I want to do.
Fluff and
I've been compared to Fluff on more than one occasion. People said I've been like a younger Fluff. So I sort of don't know if I've ripped off Fluff a little bit too much at times. But he's probably my main influence, probably the guy that sort of made me go, yeah, I'm going to start doing music on YouTube. So I suppose paying a little homage to him at the same time. But I'd say it's opened up a lot of doors in the way that obviously I started the band back to square one, probably because of YouTube, because I was already in the recording stuff at home. I was doing the home recording, the covers and stuff like that. And then I was doing a lot of video game covers, but I started doing a lot of stuff as well, like recording Green Day covers and stuff like that. And it was always a bit shit only recording instrumentals, because I record everything myself rather than playing along to the original track. I record everything, or I try to record as much as I can.
Yeah, that was like completely different approaches to the same thing, which is like cover videos.
It's probably easier. I don't know if it is easy to get bigger if you play along to the original tracks. Because I always think, how would people know until they click on the track that you're actually playing along to the original or not? But Jessie, JJ's One Girl Band, obviously a lot of you guys will already know who she is. We've had this conversation before, and apparently when she doesn't play along to the original tracks, people generally don't like it, and she generally doesn't get as many views on those videos, which is really weird.
Yeah, but there is, I don't know, there's some nasty thing about that. If that's a lot of guitar cover YouTubers are basically like using mid-level guitars and really basic VST type emulated amps, and they sound good on top of already recorded guitars.
Yeah, because you've already got that pro sound and recording in the mix already.
It's hard to like screw that up. But if you strip it down to just, for example, a drum track and your guitars, it instantly shows that okay, you're not using like a $20,000 signal chain.
And there's been times where I've recorded a cover. Actually, it happened fairly recently where I recorded a cover back in probably like 2016, and at the time it sounded pretty damn good. Like I was more than happy with that one. I thought it sounded great. One of the better covers that I've done. And I listened back to it fairly recently, and you're like, fuck. That is horrible. Like the guitar sounds awful. The guitar sounds out of tune. Like, what the hell? And it's just like, it's one of those things that I suppose if I had the original mix already, it would probably mask a lot of that.
That's a common thing about music producers.
Definitely that's a topic.
If I may say,
That's maybe a topic for another day, because like I said, Jessie, she says that, like, if she says release a metallic, I don't know, I can't remember exact conversation we had, but like, just as sort of like a rough example, like, say if we record like a cover of, say, Master of Puppets, we'll say, for example, like that cover might get, if you play over top of the original track, you might get 100,000 views out of it. But like if she recorded it, if she did like use Easy Drum Air or like Superior Drum Air, like bass, guitar and stuff like that, instrumental cover, you might get 20,000 out of it. Which still, I'm more than happy to take 20,000 views. You know what I mean? I'd be more than happy with that one. But it's like one of those things where, that's something that we've had that discussion before, and it was quite interesting to sort of find that out. But because of the way that I make the covers, with the fact that I use like Easy Drum Air, record the bass if I can. If not, I've started using MIDI bass, but that's been lazy a lot of the time. I think I never used to use a MIDI bass, but since I got native instruments complete and I can do that, I found myself a lot of times not recording bass anymore, and I need to get out of that habit now. I'm just getting lazy.
But those MIDI basses are quite good these days.
They do sound good. I do try and record, but like I was doing a new video recently, and one of the songs in it was a medley, and one of it's Welcome to Paradise by Green Day. And I think I'd recorded most of the guitar, the bass for the cover up until that point. When I got to that point, I was like, what the hell? Like that bass track was a hell of a lot more complex than I've ever heard it in my life. And I was like, there's no way I'm learning that one. So I just MIDI bass the whole thing instead.
That's going back to those super overqualified pop punk players.
But yeah, because I do all the bass, the guitar, the drums, stuff like that. When I was doing the instrumental covers, it was kind of just a bit flat where I'm just sort of doing the instrumental thing. It was a bit shit. So I kind of just put the feelers out. I sort of need a singer to work with. And then I was on my joinmyband.com, as a lot of people have probably used that website in the past. And yeah, Linus got in touch and was like, saw your ad on the internet, do you want to work together? And then fast forward just over a year, here we are.
Yeah, but I can say you just get lucky, because there are a lot of full covers, like not instrumental covers, but that also have vocals. And it starts all right, but then the vocals come in and you just, that's bad. But yeah, Linus is, she's actually good with this.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people,
type of music.
If they say listen to the covers, when the vocals come in, they go, oh, that's not Billy Joe Armstrong. It's like, well, no shit.
Oh,
it's not.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because they're used to hearing the originals. When you hear a cover, it's weird. And I think it can turn a lot of people off as well. Which is probably why a lot of people, like even like E-Rock and that now, like when he does covers, he puts the original vocal track over top of his covers. I don't know if you've noticed that.
No, I haven't, but yeah, that might make sense. But that's unless you do something like entirely different. If you just change like Leo Moracchioli.
Yeah,
like that
Leo.
guy.
I call him Leo from Frog Leap. I can never remember how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, so if you just change the arrangement completely, and that's actually one of the collabs I'm working on right now. So if you just change everything completely, it's just perceived differently, of course, and you can do anything, and you can get away with not sounding like Billie Joe Armstrong.
Oh, Leo's! I'd love to get Leo on the show. I think if we ever get if this podcast ever becomes huge, that's like he's pretty much like top of my wish list of like I'd love to interview him. Like that would be amazing.
I like to hear him too.
He's cool. I just love him. But yeah, we won't digress too much because we're already 40 minutes in, pretty much, give or take. But yeah, obviously because of the way that I do the whole YouTube thing is how the Bat Square One started, which it likely wouldn't have even pursued that had not done YouTube, because I probably wouldn't have bought Easy Drummer and started to like learn how to create songs the way that we do. I don't think I would have pursued. I would have really been doing that. I would have been sort of sat at home just doodling on a guitar. That would have been it if it wasn't for YouTube.
Oh, so so YouTube made you a producer, or
sort of gave me the amateur producer ability sort of thing. Sort of got me into that thing.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
And also, I think I was doing the Infinite Desolation, the video game soundtrack, and I have no idea what the hell's going on with that one anymore. Literally, I haven't heard from those guys in ages. I'm actually owed some money from them. I'm not going to talk about it too much in case they ever hear it. Don't want to start shit. But yes, I actually messaged him about 3 or 4 months ago. Never heard back from them, and I'm like, what the fuck's? Am I doing it still? Like, what the hell's going on? I'm owed money, but we'll leave.
Yeah, the game looked promising. Like,
it's so good. There's actually was working with an amazing composer. Absolutely incredible the stuff she was doing, but yeah, communication kind of just like disappeared. Did like 4 songs for the new version of the soundtrack, and then sort of like never heard from anyone again.
Yeah, that's kind of thing that happens a lot on musical worlds. So you kind of get something going, and then just someone jumps off. So maybe they did not jump off, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll have contact again at some point. I might message him again just to find out what's going on. But yeah, because of the whole YouTube thing, that kind of avenue opened up, and I was like, I might start getting into composing. I think it's still something I want to pursue, but I think I'm starting to gravitate away from that as being like that's what I want to do. I went through a brief period where I was like, that's what I want to do, and then I sort of realised that I'm quite more interested in the producing side of it. Like I'm more interested in creating the music, like the whole mixing process and.
Oh yeah, especially when you realize that if you upload the video, it doesn't get 1 million views guaranteed. Yeah, and that's kind of makes you thinking twice about. But like
obviously, because of YouTube, I started having to learn how to mix songs and started obviously trying to improve the quality. Like my first mix was pretty shit that I did on YouTube, and to be fair, all of them up until I'd say about 3 or 4 months ago were pretty shit. I'd say they're not like
it's always like that.
They're not like Rick Rubin or anything.
Growing process.
But they're sounding pretty decent now, and it's sort of like I'm starting to enjoy the process of putting the tracks together, and the mixing, the automation, the tweaking, everything. And I sort of think that's what I want to get into as well. And I think, and that's obviously in part led me to start university. I'm a full-time student at Point Blank Music School, which is probably something I would have never pursued without YouTube as well.
Oh yeah, and you should probably talk about that. Maybe in the future episodes as well. I think about the education part of.
We've actually got an episode idea, haven't we? Formal music education, private and self-taught education. We've definitely got that to talk about in the future. But yeah, currently a full-time music student in my second year. The degree is a music production and business degree, which I kind of got into pretty much because of YouTube, because I started to get interested in more of the production aspect of it. And I thought, obviously, being taught by a sort of world-renowned music school would be a fantastic way to go. Being taught by industry professionals.
Yeah. So as far as I understand, it's not like a mixing school. It's all over the place as well. So it's business, like mixing.
What I'm doing now, modules I'm doing now. One of them is called the Art of Mixing. So.
Oh.
But when I signed up to the course, that was when I was looking through like the modules that you do. When I saw that, it was like. That's what I want to do. Like I'm waiting for this module and I'm doing it. So I'm hoping to learn a lot. The modules just started for this term, but yeah, I thought obviously I can learn to mix and learn to sort of like, because a lot of it's to do with EDM music, which isn't something that I'm really interested in, but a lot of it's all about composing, MIDI, stuff like that. So I thought if I want to get into composing stuff, like I did want to at the time, it was like a main thing. Obviously, learn how to compose with MIDI and stuff like that's going to be a big part of it. So the degree is going to help with that. But
that's actually one thing that's worth mentioning, that we are kind of doing the same thing, but we have the completely different ways of learning. For example, you have your school, which is like formal education,
I'm doing the more formal aspect,
and as for me, is like I'm doing like my music part of education is like a private lessons. So all of the music theory and guitar techniques comes from that, and my mixing part is like I was doing. Should I like do an advertisement? Unfriendly thing. Anyway, I was doing some really popular course online for a year about mixing and producing.
Was that the Nail the Mix?
Oh yeah, it's Nail the Mix, right. Mix. So I was doing that for a year.
Now we've mentioned them, you know they have to give us some money now.
Yeah.
We have to hit them up. We plugged you on the podcast, send us money.
Oh yeah, I'll tell Joe about that. I actually met him a few months ago. Joe is one of the founders of the whole thing. And after that I just decided to start actually working in the studio, get a
definitely the next step,
studio internship. And that's like super different from a formal education path. So
but it's like an apprenticeship in a way, isn't it? Like you're sort of like it's like education, but it's more like a hands-on education rather than going to
exactly an apprenticeship, like 100%.
Which, it's definitely a way to go. It's definitely a potential. That's something that sort of like I might even consider doing after university. That might be something to go into. Because I think a lot of the thing with my university, I think it has changed the way that I want to do things. Like I said, when I started my course, I wanted to do composing, I wanted to do video game scoring, film scoring, and then sort of the more I got into it, like over time, obviously because of YouTube, I got more into the whole mixing side. Wanted to start mixing music more, started to gravitate towards that. The course deals in that, and then some of the modules to do with the business side of it, which is something that I'm really starting to gravitate towards. Because I want to make money, bend of, but I've had a business. Well, I don't know what was it. I didn't finish the degree because I stopped and moved over to computing, which I kind of regret doing. Hang on, bear me 2 seconds. Someone's knocked at the door. 2 seconds.
Okay.
Sorry about that discombobulation there. It'll probably be a really weird edit going on there, but there was no one actually at the door. So it's probably just some dickhead kids or something. But so if someone knocks at the door again, I'm not answering it. End of. But yeah, back to what we were saying before this little. I'm going to edit that out. But pretty much doing my university has sort of like helped change what I want to do, because I've started to gravitate more towards the business aspect as well as the mixing side, which this course deals in. Because I think one of the first modules I did was about business. Try and remember what it was called. And definitely started to gravitate towards it more then and be like, there's like some really interesting stuff going on there. Sort of learning about how record labels work, how like your royalties, like you got your publishing royalties, your mechanical royalties and all that sort of stuff like that. And really starting to gravitate towards that. So now my whole aspect over the last couple of years has changed about what I want to actually do.
That's exactly how it works. For example, if you're as a kid, you're thinking like, I want to be in the band. I wanted to be like a touring musician, and 20 years later, you find yourself like sitting in the studio or doing some business-related music thing. That's completely makes sense.
But then it's not always. You're not always sat in the studio 20 years later regretting that you never made it, and this was like a cop out. Sometimes you just evolve over time. Like now. Like, fair enough, if you said, do you want to go a headline like Wembley Stadium and play in front of 100,000 people, I'm not going to say, no, I don't want to do that, do you know what I mean? But, like, I'm not as bothered about that anymore as I used to be. Like, back when I was, like, 16, it was like, I want to be in the biggest band in the world, like, I want to, like, tour the world, 300 days a year on tour. That was the goal. That was no ifs or buts, that was it. But now it's sort of like, I enjoy just doing the creating the music aspect of it. I'm not that bothered about playing live shows as much anymore. And I think a lot of it is just you just evolve over time. And I think the uni course has helped me see a lot of different aspects of the music industry that, fair enough, I was always aware of, but maybe like a bit blind to at the same time. Like I sort of didn't realise how interesting like maybe the business side was, and that was something that was going to pique my interest. Because prior I've got a high certificate in business. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But yeah, as I said before, the slight interruption with the podcast, I was studying business at university level. Then I switched over to a computing course. I kind of regret that decision because I didn't like it one bit. But yeah, obviously I've always been interested in business. I did it at college as well, at sort of like AS level, like the college level. And I did it in school at the lower GCSE level. So I've always been interested in business. So sort of having that I'm already interested in applied in something that actually interests me, because obviously like I'm interested in business, but I'm not that interested in how like Walmart works. If you're in America, for example, obviously some of our audience might not know our brands in the UK and Russia and stuff like that. But yeah, say like I'm not that I don't want to go and manage like a supermarket. Like I'm not that bothered about that aspect of business. Like, but but being able to apply it to something that I actually care about has been really like eye opening to sort of see what the possibilities are out there. And yeah, now I'm pretty much I want to get into the business side of it. Like I'd love to get a record label going. I want to start getting into that aspect. Obviously try and do my mixing stuff as well, and just pretty much record music, make music, release music. Pretty much that's what I want to go into more than the performance aspect of music.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I totally forgot to mention about now that you've started talking about business. Actually, my day job is related to business as well. Like I'm working at a faculty of economics of one of the Moscow universities. So there's a lot of business talk going on, and I'm not. My education is not exactly in business, but yeah, I have my hands in some business stuff. So. Yeah. We can definitely talk about that.
Always handy to have, yeah, definitely. But I think, like I said, I think going back to the whole original point, I think YouTube pretty much opened up, probably for both of us, probably a lot of these doors. Like I think without the initial sat watching Fluff do his FAQ Mondays one day in 2015 and being like, that's awesome, and seeing E-Rock play Zelda meets Metal and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't have started the YouTube channel. I may not have started the YouTube channel, which in turn wouldn't have led me to getting into like composing the video game soundtrack, which then made me want to study production at a higher level to go into university, which then made me interested in more business aspect, and then the band. Like I think YouTube pretty much opened the doors to a lot of stuff that's going on, even if a lot of it isn't YouTube related anymore.
Yeah, and it's like super unexpected thing. You wouldn't expect of YouTube to change your life like that.
Exactly, because you can look at the channels and be like, I get 25 to 30,000 views a month. 30 if I'm on like a good streak. If I have a half decent video, and you're not too far off those numbers though, I don't think.
I think I'm getting like 1,000 views, maybe a little more than that every week. So
yeah,
something like that. But yeah, my point exactly is that a lot of people say that YouTube like changed my life, and usually those people are that
the million subs.
The people that do YouTube full time. But it's not. It's not only about them, because, for example, we are not doing YouTube full time, but it still changed our lives in some way.
Yeah. Exactly. Like we're small channels, like we're nothing. Like pretty much our monthly stats can be made in like 3 minutes by a bigger channel.
I mean?
Like we're nothing in YouTube, but I think it's like we've got the potential to become sort of like, in theory, like full-time creators as small channels, which a lot of people wouldn't see. Like obviously you got like your big channels, like your vlog and stuff like that. You need like that million subs to make the revenue to go full time.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like if things fell into place with us, with the stuff that we get into, the fact that we've got our fingers in so many pots, like say like 5,000 subscribers, by the time you're at that point you could be a full-time creator, because this is what you're doing full-time in terms of what we're doing. I think it's one of the good things about music, that I think you can be so diverse, and I think in this day and age you have to be diverse in music.
Yeah, especially with what happens with YouTube right now, and with what was happening for the last few years.
But like, obviously, like if we became big creators, say the channels blew up, became million sub channels, we're making tens of $1,000s a month, that's fantastic. But when YouTube crashes, we crash as well, which is what's going to get a lot of people when the day finally does come.
But I don't think it would actually crash, but
no, maybe not,
someone makes the video that makes another controversy, and YouTube makes another response thing that is meant to make YouTube better, but somehow you lose all your income, and then
it's almost inevitable that a channel will die eventually. Like it's most channels have, like, you've seen channels over and over again where they've rose to fame and then suddenly they've faded out, and it could happen to anyone at any time.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously when that happens, they're pretty much done for. But I think with music, 'cause obviously it's such a diverse thing, you've generally got to be able to be good at quite a lot of different things in order to kind of be successful at YouTube as well when it comes to music. That I think that, like, we're probably one of the few genres that will probably survive YouTube, like post YouTube.
Oh yeah, survive YouTube. That's a good that's a
we're-
good passage.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we're
because
going to be.
if some gaming channel it ends, something happens, and for example, someone says something on stream, that we've seen that a lot. They basically have to go back to flipping burgers and stuff. But if you're doing music,
because like with gaming, unless you can say become a video game journalist or you can work in a games company, you can't really make money out of gaming. Like, it's not easy. Like, it's not like an easy thing to do. It seems easy. Like, people think it's easy, but it's really not. But outside like YouTube, Twitch, and esports, there's not that much money to be made in gaming. So if you get banned off Twitch and YouTube, whatever, you're pretty much done for. Whereas like with music,
if you're a musician, like that's what happens with Fluff, that we the one we've had. How many times did we mention Fluff on this podcast?
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
we need him as a guest.
That's weird. Yeah, but that's a good story. When
Fluff, we've plugged you.
Yeah, like when his offline gig ended with his 9-to-5 job,
but like
just
Fluff,
through the YouTube he got.
But he's good at
got it going.
He's quite good at production, stuff like that, and he works for Joey Sturgis now, so he's got a job there, which obviously gives him income. Because his YouTube will probably make him a really low basic salary on its own.
I think, yeah.
But probably with the fact that the house that he lives in, sort of like, because I don't know if you've seen, he actually posted the link online to the real estate agent that sort of has his old house for sale, and like, it's a pretty half decent house, like $250,000 sort of house. So obviously, like, he's probably got a level of income that he needs to match in order to maintain that lifestyle. So like, YouTube probably provided him a basic income that may have like just covered the very bare essentials. But then he's got like JST. He works for them, so obviously that's like an income now, which that's a job thing he can keep going into, because he worked for Evertune. He worked for Two Notes. He worked for Positive Grid. So obviously he's got that music industry jobs, which he may not have got without YouTube. He's got his production stuff, which he sort of does whenever he needs when he's free. And he charges up to $275 a song to mix. So like, it's sort of like, he's an example of sort of where like, that's sort of like the aspirations where we want to be. Like, it's sort of like if YouTube dies off of Fluff, he's still got like his Joey Sturgis stuff, like that area of like artist relations, stuff like that. And he's also got the mix, and that's sort of like the same aspect that we're going into.
Yeah, and it's always about diversification, and Joey Sturgis also himself has a very diverse like thing, and obviously he is a founder of what's it called, URM Academy, which makes Nail the Mix. He has a JST plugins company, and I don't think he produces bands anymore, but
he does, I think, a bit.
He definitely gets a lot of royalties from.
I think a lot of his, if he does any producing now, I think it's more like personal friends. Like, he's not like, he doesn't like the little band from a small town in like Ohio doesn't go to get mixed by Joey, but like I think that maybe like bands like Ask Alexandra's out there, those bigger bands, I think still he does work with, I think, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. I'm not 100% sure.
Now that you mention it, I remember that story. Do you remember the singer of Asking Alexandria that was briefly with the band?
Oh, yes.
Denis Shaforostov, his full name is. I think he's from Ukraine, and before he joined Asking Alexandria, there was a lot of talks in among Moscow musicians about him, that I think he was in his first band, and his band was actually produced by Joey Sturgis. So just a kid from Ukraine, just a local band, and look how far have he had just by working with those wonderful people.
Definitely.
And
it actually looks like Joey Sturgis, the last album that he produced was not the newest Ask Alexandria album, the one before that, The Black. Apparently 2016 was his last time he's done the producing stuff. So he must be really busy with obviously JST.
Because the last album was I don't remember exactly who produced it, but that guy was definitely on URM at one point. So that was a good producer as well. So good for him. But so it's all about diversification, and even the URM guys who are partly YouTube also, they have a YouTube channel and they have a podcast and all that. They always mention that they would never think that they would do something like this and at this point, because that's like evolution thing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we need, that we can talk about in another podcast as well. It's definitely a good topic, and something that I've had a long running plan to make a video on this, assuming things fall into place at some point. I've got a long-term video planned that basically talks about this subject, that which is hopefully, if things all go to plan, a little spoiler, that's going to be basically taking like a time period of time, like say like September to September, and then sort of showing how I've diversified what I'm doing to basically like go full time without being quote unquote famous.
Oh, I would like to see that.
Which obviously at the minute I'm not. It's probably makes up like a small percentage of income. Like I'm nowhere near that point yet. But like I'm hoping that eventually like might be able to have enough fingers in enough pots that maybe you can build an income without being like famous. Which is definitely, it's a long-term video plan that I've got, assuming it all falls into place. So hopefully that'll be something we can that I'll do later, and obviously something we can talk about in the podcast as well, is about diversifying and basically the importance of doing that as a musician.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. And you don't have to be famous to make enough money, especially if you're doing a lot of things on the side.
Hopefully this podcast is going to be another pot that we can put our fingers into. Hopefully this could turn into something that would be a source of revenue. Obviously then we've got like our other stuff. You've got like YouTube's, you've got you've got your mixing, you've got production, like all sort of stuff like that, where you can make a little bit of money at each thing, and hopefully that will all accumulate into enough of income to do it full time. That's obviously the goal. But
or at least it's just generates enough income to maintain itself, because there's like SoundCloud fees and SoundCloud fees and stuff like that.
So hopefully it all works out. And obviously this podcast is in early days, and if we manage to make something out of it, that would be absolutely fantastic. Obviously time will tell.
So hint Patreon.
Pretty much. Download the podcast. Let people know you want to hear more, and advertisers might come knocking. But
that was like super unprofessional Patreon plug ever made in history.
But like pretty much in closing, it's pretty much showing that like obviously we both started out as YouTubers, but we've both diversified well beyond that. And I suppose that's probably, this was another half an hour introduction of myself. We took half an hour just to introduce who we were, but it's all good.
Yeah, it's a good introduction of the whole podcast, I think.
I think it gave everyone a good sort of insight in how the podcast may sound when we're talking about an actual topic, and we've actually came up with some new topics for ourselves, so cannot complain. But
that might hint a few future topics of the podcast. So I think
which some
that
of them
will give a pretty good idea to.
We may not have thought of those ideas either about the introductions.
Oh yeah.
So just somewhat my introduction at least. YouTube musician, 2,300 subscribers, small channel, in a band back to square one, main instrumentalist, although Linus does do instrumental stuff too, but I'm the core instrumentalist, she's the vocalist, she does more of the piano stuff. In the band, we've got an album out behind closed doors on all major music platforms, been on BBC Radio twice. In 2017, and Dan was actually on one of the songs too. Was doing backing vocals in one of the songs.
I was on BBC.
So there we go. So not bad. So there we go. We are legit musicians. Support us. Download our podcast. We've been on the radio.
And also, you're a student at which school?
Point Blank Music School.
Okay.
So YouTuber, small YouTuber, instrumentalist in Back to Square One, full-time student at Point Blank Music School, studying music production and business. Twitter addict. I'm on Twitter far too much, posting far too much crap, retweeting things that really don't need retweeting, and pretty much just trying to make something out of this whole thing, so we don't have to go and stack shelves and do boring jobs for a living. Try and do something that we're actually good at and we're passionate about. That is the goal, and hopefully we can make it happen. But that's pretty much, that just sums me up in a nutshell. Obviously once university's done, if I still haven't made it in the music world, I might start supplementing income with other jobs that I don't want to do, but that is what it is. And hopefully by the time uni's done, hopefully we'll be able to be self-sufficient in music and carry on basically doing what my education's taught me to do, and that is to make music, produce music, and release music and stuff.
Oh yeah, sure.
And yeah, see my record label. Another thing, obviously, I'm trying to do a record label, Miscast Records, which is where this name kind of came from as well. Hopefully get that underway. Obviously got the Miscast Podcast, based trying to brand everything under Miscast Studios. And hopefully that can be my Virgin Records, my Geffen Records one day.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see that.
That's the plan. But I think basically they were both very long-winded introductions, but like I said, it'll give you a good opportunity to know what the podcast's actually going to sound like in its actual topic episodes. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. And so we've already mentioned a few of those ideas in the podcast. We've got a few new ideas to talk about. Hopefully we're going to get some guests on the show, which should be a lot of fun. I've got a massive list of people that I want to ask to be on the show. Some of them I know, some of them I'm slight acquaintances with, and some of them are pretty much wish list type of people, but hopefully we can make some of them happen.
Yeah, and I assume some of those people have already gave their confirmation that they are willing to step into.
We've had two so far, but one of them's Linus, which obviously we knew was going to be a given. Where she would be on, if we ask her to come on the show, she will be on any time that we ask her. So that would be fun. And obviously we've got Clark After Dark, good friend of ours, which we're going to be talking about. I believe we're going to be talking about the impact of the YouTube partnership program and what it means for the future of small creators, and whether it's going to kill off or whether it's going to be the thing that makes small creators bounce back and really start making it go this website, which is youtube.com, which you may or may not be hearing this podcast on. But that should be an interesting podcast. But I've got some other people as well that I want to ask, a few good friends of mine, such as Crimson Studios. A lot of you guys may not know him, but he does basically twice weekly, sort of more like comedy news style videos where he talks about current events, but in a very funny way. He's absolutely fantastic, great to talk to. He's a great person. I'd love to get him on the show. And I think he's going to go far. He's currently got about 3,000 subscribers, just over 3,000 subscribers. I really think he's going to be one of those like big channels very, very soon. So I'm hoping we get him on the show.
Great.
I need to ask him. I've got other people as well. I've got like Ace Trainer Liam, Pokemon YouTube. I think will be a good person to talk to. Then we've got people we've got more music related people as well. Obviously we've got like the bigger YouTubers that we'd love to get on the show, like your Glenn Frickers, your Rob Scallons and that. Maybe able to pull them off, not entirely sure. But they're definitely on the wish list anyway. We've got contact with them. We can actually make contact with them. It's just whether they respond and whether they actually say yes would be the big thing. But hopefully, if we can get the podcast underway and get a lot of you guys subscribing to the podcast, then hopefully that will help get them on board, and so we can make things bigger and better. But we've got people like that, which hopefully we can talk to in an interview.
Oh yeah, sure. That depends entirely on our listeners, which are you.
So obviously, if you guys want them, let them know. Come on the podcast. Hopefully, then eventually they'll say yeah. But obviously, they're big YouTube musicians. So obviously, we can pick their brains about making it on the platform, which obviously a lot of people want to know about. And a lot of the topics that we want to discuss as well, to do with like self-producing versus professional stuff, and based trying to make YouTube work around things. And I think they'll be good people to talk to in that sense.
Absolutely.
Got a few other ideas as well. Got some people who own guitar companies or who rep for guitar companies or work within music instruments companies that I want to talk to, that I've got a few people I can make contact with, and hopefully some of them will be on board too, because they've got a couple of guitar makers, got artists, reps, stuff like that. Hopefully they'll be down to talk to us. And got a few streamers which I think will be quite interesting as well. Maybe some Twitch streamers we can get on board. Could be a lot of fun.
Why not?
Because obviously, like music, gaming on Twitch is a big thing which takes up a lot of time. It'd be interesting to sort of hear how they go down that route, because I know a lot of people now, especially with the whole YouTube thing, is starting to gravitate towards Twitch. So it could be really good to maybe talk to some people that have actually made it or make a living out of it, and try and sort of get the insight on how they approach it, and hopefully that'll help some people out.
Oh yeah, and you also mentioned that Twitch is kind of getting a little bit more like YouTube.
They're getting
has some new features.
So
maybe in the future, like Twitch and YouTube will be basically will have the same number of features.
Yeah, hopefully they'll be like rivals of each other. But it'd be interesting to get some Twitch people on as well. Like I said, same with like the YouTubers. Obviously, we can get the bigger YouTubers on it, sort of try and get people inspired about trying to make it on the platform, and sort of figure out how the big guys have done it, and then obviously people can follow suit and try and sort of replicate that success as well. And obviously Twitch is going to be another great platform for that. So we've got some people that we may have contact with, and we may be able to get on board eventually. Like I said, we've got some of the smaller channels. You've got your Crimson Studios, you've got people like Dead on Dave, stuff like that, some more commentary channels who we should be able to get on board if things go our way. Then we've got some sort of bigger end channels like your Glenn Frickers. Hopefully we can get people like them on board eventually. And we've got like the wish list people, like you've also got like your Jared Dines, your Leo and stuff like that we'd love to get on the podcast, like we probably never will. But they're still on the list. They're on the list. We'll try and make it happen. And we've got a lot of people coming up. Hopefully we're going to start putting out some words and try and make some contact with some people. Hopefully get some people confirmed to be on the show. And we've got a lot of podcast ideas in the works. So yeah, I think we've got a lot of content to see us through for the foreseeable future with this podcast.
And I think the viewers can give us some ideas as well. So if you're listening, if you are having someone in mind, just feel free to comment on whatever platform you're listening to.
Exactly. If you think I'd love to hear how, I don't know, Andy James, I actually got an Andy James YouTube video on screen now. If you sort of think, I'd love to hear how he's practiced techniques and how he basically like does what he does, then like obviously let us know and we may be able to get him on the show eventually, you never know. But that sort of thing, if you've got an idea for you sort of thing, I'd love to hear how someone does this or what someone thinks about this. Obviously we'll try and make it happen. Maybe not straight away because obviously we're a small time podcast, but if it grows, then who knows, they might be on board. But we've got a lot of people who we hope to get on the show, so whether they do or not, that remains to be seen. But yeah, things should be going good. Don't know what we're going to do in terms of structure yet, whether we're going to go for a weekly as and when sort of thing. We'll probably figure it out over time. And hopefully we can make it a weekly, twice weekly thing. Hopefully that'll be the goal, to try and make it a regular thing. But obviously it all depends whether people are enjoying it, people want more from us. Then hopefully
that would be great.
Make that happen as well. It's obviously ideal if we can get at least once a week, ideally twice a week. That would be fantastic. But if people want it, then obviously let us know. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, and follow on Twitch and SoundCloud as well and stuff like that. Obviously let us know you're enjoying the podcast, and then we'll try and make it work. We'll try and figure shit out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up this first episode. We've been going, how long are we going now?
A little bit over an hour.
A little bit over an hour, which
we
is probably long
edit
enough.
That.
We've got the very slight
that
edit.
up.
Edit bit in the middle of the podcast. We've got a little bit of the intro we need to chop out before we officially started the podcast. But yeah, I'd say about an hour, give or take. So I think for our introductions, that's pretty much long enough. I think we're now procrastinating a little bit. We're just sort of like dilly-daddling a bit now. So it's probably a good time to wrap up the show and get on up out of here. And then we'll start planning episode 2.
Oh, yeah. So see you on the next show.
So yeah, I think we'll wrap up the show now, and then we'll come back at the end. We'll plug the stuff, and then we'll see you guys in episode 2. So yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this show, guys. Alright everybody, it's time to exit stage left and head over to the next town. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this episode today, the debut episode of the Miscast Podcast. Me and Dan have had so much fun recording it, we can't wait for you guys to hear it. At the time of recording this, we already have 4 guests confirmed for future interviews, so hopefully we'll be able to start doing them over the coming weeks, and then it won't be too much long before you start to hear them. We also have a load of ideas for future podcast episodes. We've got enough ideas to keep us going for quite a while, and we're really, really looking forward to recording them. And if you want to keep up to date with everything Miscast, you can follow us on all of our social media on Facebook and Instagram. Go to facebook.com, instagram.com/Miscast Podcast. On Twitter, it's twitter.com/Miscast_podcast. And you can follow us on SoundCloud, on Twitch, on YouTube, on iTunes and Stitcher, Cast FM, all of these wonderful places where you can listen to our podcast. Go to soundcloud.com/Miscast Podcast to follow us on there. You can go to twitch.tv/Miscast Podcast. On YouTube, to search for the Miscast Podcast. We don't have a dedicated URL yet, but we will be getting one. And the best way to support us for free is to go to iTunes and subscribe and download the episodes on there. And if you want to support us even further, you can go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Miscast Podcast, and donate as little as $1 a month, and that will really help us keep this podcast on the air, keep us doing the episodes, and help us expand it, help us grow it, help us get better equipment, help us get better guests. All of that good stuff will come with your guys' support. And once we start getting advertisers, if we ever start getting sponsors and advertisers, by supporting on Patreon, that will allow you to listen to the podcast ad-free without those sponsorships. So if you guys want to hear it ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon, support us on there. But if you don't want to, you can still listen to the podcast for free. It's never going behind a paywall. Like I said, SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitch, Stitcher, Cast FM, and iTunes. Subscribe and follow on them, and you can listen to us all day long whenever a new podcast lands. And on that note, that is the end of the podcast, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, and we'll see you guys very, very soon in the next episode.